How to be the boss without becoming a bossy boss, brought to you by Lux von Zollern, the maker of exclusive garments for successful women, available at the website lvzprestige.com. Think Lux von Zollern when you wish to amplify your executive impact in high-stakes business environments. The art of quiet leadership. Let's get this out of the way. Being a boss is great. You get to make decisions, shape the direction of projects, and, let's face it, everyone loves the sound of a manager in their job title. But here's the catch. You can be a boss without being the kind of boss that inspires eye rolls, clenching fists, and passive-aggressive emails at 3 a.m. No one likes a bossy boss. So let's talk about how you can rise to the top and stay cool while doing it. Led without being a dictator. Let's talk about that classic boss who commands like a general in a war room. Do this, do that, report back by 5. If that's your style, I'm going to politely suggest that you don't Google how to get your team to hate you 101. You see, bossy leadership isn't just outdated. It's also toxic. Micromanaging and barking orders doesn't make you look powerful. It makes you look insecure. Real power comes from knowing when to step in and when to step back. And here's the trick. The more you trust your team, the more they'll rise to the occasion. They're not going to do it just because you're breathing down their necks. They'll do it because you've created an environment where they feel respected and empowered. Lead with trust, not with control, and watch your team flourish. Led by example, not by fear. Ever had a boss who asked you to work late while they disappeared for the night? Yeah, not the kind of leader we're striving to be, right? Being the boss means setting the tone. Your work ethic, your attitude, and even your body language are all speaking volumes, whether you realize it or not. If you're the kind of leader who expects your team to give it their all, you need to be giving it your all, too. But don't go overboard and turn into a workaholic martyr. We're not looking for sainthood here. A little grace, a little humor, and a lot of self-care are the ingredients for sustainable success. After all, how can you expect your team to take care of themselves when you're burning the candle at both ends? Be the invisible hand, but make it look effortless. Here's a fun fact. The most effective leaders often do the least. Sounds counterintuitive, right? But think about it. The best bosses know how to guide their teams without constantly hovering over their shoulders. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room to make an impact. In fact, being quiet, strategically quiet, can be your greatest asset. When you provide your team with clear direction, the resources they need, and a sense of purpose, you create an environment where they feel empowered to take the reins. The result? They get more done, and you look like a genius for letting them shine. No need to grab the mic at every opportunity. Let them have their moment, and your leadership will be felt in every action, even when you're just sitting in the back, sipping your coffee. Master the subtle art of praise without overdoing it. Bossy bosses love to give unsolicited feedback, too much unsolicited feedback. They can't resist stepping in and reminding everyone how things should be done. But where's the love? A good leader knows how to give credit when credit is due. Be the boss who catches people doing things right. Throw out compliments like confetti, but avoid overloading your team with unnecessary praise. They're not toddlers. They just want to feel seen for their contributions. When you make it a point to acknowledge great work, you inspire people to push themselves even further. But keep it authentic. Empty praise might make you feel good, but it'll never drive real results. Think quality over quantity. Control the narrative without being a control freak. Being a great boss means being in control of the narrative. And by that, I mean, you need to steer conversations, guide discussions, and, most importantly, handle conflicts without breaking a sweat. Bossy bosses? They stir the pot, constantly. They create unnecessary drama and become the focal point of every office whisper. Not your vibe. The most effective leaders are the ones who control the environment without overcompensating. They handle their teams with diplomacy, using charm and wit when necessary. Know how to diffuse tension and keep things light. People will follow your lead when they feel you're steady, cool, and collected. Plus, you'll avoid looking like the office drama queen. Win-win. Stop chasing power. Start building influence. Let's be real. There's a huge difference between power and influence. Bossy bosses thrive on power. They need to have the last word, the final decision, the biggest say in everything. But real influence? That comes naturally. When you earn respect through your actions, words, and the way you treat people, your influence grows exponentially. Influence doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be flashy. It's all about making people want to follow you. They'll want to take your lead because they respect you, not because you force them to. So, work on being someone others look up to, not someone others are scared of. And the best part? Influence will carry you much further than power ever could. Develop emotional intelligence and keep your cool. Emotions at work? Oh, we've all been there. Office drama, personality clashes, and egos running wild are all part of the package deal. But how you handle those emotions will either make or break you as a leader. Bossy bosses let their emotions control them. They lash out when they're stressed, blame others when things go wrong, and lose their cool in high-pressure situations. Don't be that boss. Learn how to handle your emotions. Take a step back, breathe, and consider your words before you speak. Emotional intelligence is the ultimate secret weapon for leadership, and trust me, it's the quality that will make people rally around you, not your temper. Being the boss doesn't mean you have to be bossy. It means you have to be smart, strategic, and subtle. You can lead with confidence, compassion, and charisma, and still get results. So, take a deep breath, practice those key leadership skills, and get ready to leave your bossy days behind you. The real power? It's the quiet kind, and it's all yours. Use your powers of observation like a super spy. Have you ever noticed that some people have this sixth sense for reading a room? They walk in, they don't say much, but they know everything about everyone. How do they do it? It's simple. They observe. And guess what? You can do it too. Good bosses aren't just about running meetings or checking off tasks. They're experts in reading people. They understand the mood of the room before anyone speaks. They notice when someone is holding back or when there's an undercurrent of tension. They can tell who's frustrated, who's disengaged, and who's about to quit without anyone saying a word. So, how do you do it? First, stop talking and start listening. Your team will drop more clues than a detective novel if you know how to read between the lines. Pay attention to body language, tone of voice, and even what's not being said. If you can learn to read people like a book, you'll have the power to steer conversations, make smarter decisions, and become the office sage who knows exactly how to play your cards. Cultivate the power of diplomacy, aka the art of saying what you want without actually saying it. You don't need to scream, "I'm the boss," for people to know you run the show. In fact, if you do, you're probably doing it wrong. Instead, develop the subtle art of diplomacy. Let's face it, we've all worked with that one boss who can't help but throw their weight around, making every conversation feel like an order. But a real boss, the kind that gets things done without causing a scene, knows how to phrase things in a way that inspires action without making people feel like they're being bossed around. Want an example? Instead of barking orders like, "I need this done by 5, try, "I'd love it if we could wrap this up by 5. Any ideas on how we can make that happen?" This way, you're encouraging collaboration instead of dictating a timeline. The difference is subtle, but trust me, your team will appreciate the respect. And here's a bonus tip. Always make your colleagues think the idea was theirs. When they feel like they own the solution, they'll put in 100% more effort, and you'll get credit for being the visionary who had the brilliant idea without lifting a finger. Don't be afraid to step back and let your team shine. It's easy to feel like you have to be the center of attention in every meeting. But guess what? The real bosses are the ones who let their teams steal the spotlight. That's right. You don't always need to take the credit for yourself. You may be the one who orchestrated the whole plan, but let your team members present the ideas. Give them the stage. Step back and let them take the credit for the success. When your team feels valued and trusted, they'll return the favor by working even harder to help you succeed. Plus, you'll quickly gain a reputation as a leader who isn't threatened by others' success. And honestly, that's what makes you unstoppable. The more you lift others, the higher you'll rise, and no one will even realize that you've been steering the ship all along. Master the art of being mysterious, but in a good way. Ever noticed how some people just seem to have an air of mystique? They don't over-explain themselves, and they don't give everything away at once. They keep people guessing, and that is part of their power. As a boss, you don't have to divulge every single detail about your next move. In fact, it's often better to leave a little mystery. When you're too predictable, people will take you for granted. But when you keep them on their toes, they'll respect you more, not know exactly what's coming next, and, most importantly, they'll start to follow your lead. The key here is balance. You don't want to come off as a closed-off dictator. Instead, share just enough information to keep everyone in the loop, but hold back the full picture. Let your employees work through the gaps. You're the puppet master, and they're the puppets. Just make sure you've got them dancing to your tune without them even realizing it. Make yourself irreplaceable without becoming the bottleneck. A boss who's always too busy to take on tasks or answer emails might think they're creating a sense of importance, but in reality, they're just setting themselves up for burnout. The trick is making yourself irreplaceable by creating a system that runs smoothly without you. Think of yourself like a software program that makes everything more efficient. You don't need to micromanage every detail. Instead, develop systems, processes, and people who can handle things when you're not around. Your job is to ensure that everyone has the tools they need to succeed, and then get out of their way. The more your team can handle on their own, the more they'll appreciate your leadership. And let's be honest, when you're not bogged down in the minutiae, you can focus on the big picture, where the real power lies. Stay cool under pressure, like a calm, confident Zen master. Ever watched a boss get rattled by stress and thought, well, there goes the ship? That's not the kind of leader you want to be. The best bosses remain calm under pressure. They don't let the chaos of the office get to them. When things are falling apart, you need to be the calm in the storm. The ability to stay composed when everyone else is losing their heads will not only earn you respect, it'll also inspire your team to keep their cool. When you exude confidence and composure, it's like a silent command that says, I've got this. And when your team sees that, they'll know they can lean on you, no matter what the situation. Never forget, your success is their success. Finally, remember that leadership is not about you. It's about them. When your team feels like their success is just as important as yours, they'll go above and beyond for you. A good leader celebrates the victories of their team just as much, if not more, than their own. And guess what? When you lift others, you lift yourself. The more your team shines, the more you will, too. Be the kind of boss who celebrates everyone's wins. Make them feel valued, and they'll return that loyalty 1,000 times over. This is how you build an empire of unstoppable, motivated, and highly effective people who all want to see you succeed. So, go ahead. Lead with a quiet confidence, create a team that thrives, and leave the bossy boss behind. You'll get to the top faster than anyone ever expected, and you'll do it without stepping on anyone's toes along the way. Brought to you by Lux von Zollern, the maker of exclusive garments for successful women, available at the website lvzprestige.com. Think Lux von Zollern when you wish to amplify your executive impact in high-stakes business environments.